It was a Tuesday afternoon in October when I came home from work and saw it. The construction crew, unloading lumber and tools like they were building shed on my property. But it wasn't just any shed. This was the plot of Woodland that Patricia Henderson, the new president of the Pinehurst Hills Homeowners Association, had decided she owned. And I knew right then, she'd made her biggest mistake yet. She was going to regret this, because I wasn't about to let her get away with 3 years of harassment. My name's Trevor Quinn, and I've lived in this neighborhood just outside Charlotte, North Carolina, for 5 years now. The first 2 years were peaceful enough, quiet, calm, no trouble. The HOA was just doing its thing, collecting dues, maintaining common areas. No one bothered anyone. But then Patricia Henderson took over as president, and my life turned into a never-ending nightmare. Patricia was a 52-year-old woman with a haircut that screamed, "I want to speak to the manager," and if there was a clipboard around, she was wielding it like a weapon. She had this weird, twisted sense of power, and it became her mission to find something, anything, to cite me for. It started small. My mailbox was half an inch too tall, according to her interpretation of the rules. Then my grass was allegedly a quarter inch too long. And then the color of my front door wasn't quite the approved shade of colonial blue. Even though I had the receipt to prove I bought the exact paint listed in the HOA guidelines. It was ridiculous. But then came the land dispute, the woodland that ran behind my house, about 1.5 acres of pine trees and oak, full of underbrush. I loved it. It provided privacy and kept the backyard from feeling too exposed. When I bought the house, the property survey clearly showed that the land was mine. I paid property taxes on it every year, no questions asked. But Patricia decided that land should belong to the HOA, and 6 months ago, she showed up at my door demanding I sign over the deed to the woodland. I'll admit it, I laughed in her face. I mean, the request was so absurd, I couldn't take it seriously. This was my property. I had the deed, the survey, the tax records. Everything was crystal clear. Patricia didn't like that. She turned red, called me selfish, and stormed off my porch, but I thought that would be the end of it. Then came the letters. More aggressive, more insistent. The HOA claimed there were disputed property boundaries that had to be resolved, which was just code for "we want our land." Every time, I sent them back my deed and survey with a polite note saying, "There's nothing to dispute here." But when I came home that Tuesday and saw construction happening on my land, I knew it wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. Patricia had decided to just take what she wanted and hope I wouldn't fight back. And that's when it hit me. I could make her pay. This was my chance to put an end to 3 years of harassment. I immediately pulled out my phone and started recording as I walked down the slope from my backyard toward the construction site. I couldn't believe it. The crew was already laying a foundation for what looked like a storage shed. For guys were unloading lumber, and it was obvious they were building something substantial. When I approached, one of the workers, a burly guy with a gray beard, held up his hand and said, "Sorry, sir. This is a construction site. HOA project." I didn't let it faze me. "This is my property," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Do you have a permit for this construction?" The guy pulled out his phone, made a quick call, and then came back, telling me that they had all the paperwork in order. The HOA had hired them, and they were working according to the specs they'd been given. But that's when I hit them with the truth. "You're trespassing on my property," I said flatly. The guy hesitated, but then he nodded and said, "I'll have my boss reach out to the HOA, but until I hear otherwise, we have to keep working." That was the moment I knew I had to fight back. I wasn't going to let them just steamroll me. So I called my real estate attorney, Marcus Chun. He's been helping me since I bought the house, and after listening to my explanation, he gave me the words I was hoping to hear. "They're trespassing. This is an easy case." Marcus filed an emergency injunction the next day, but of course, the construction didn't stop. When I got home, the shed had walls and a roof. They were even installing a door. I could feel my blood boiling, but I didn't back down. I documented everything, sent Marcus the photos, and prepared for the next step. That night, Patricia called. She tried to accuse me of harassing the crew, but I wasn't having it. "You're building on my property without permission," I told her. "That's not harassment. That's just stating a fact." She didn't like that one bit, and After some back and forth, she hung up. The hearing in court came the next day. I met Marcus at the courthouse, and we were ready. The HOA had their attorney, and I had mine. Patricia and a few board members were there, too. The judge barely looked at their argument. I had the deed, the survey, the tax records, and photos showing they were violating the injunction. The judge wasted no time. The construction must stop immediately, she said, and the structure must be removed within 30 days. Patricia made a noise like a cat being strangled, but the judge wasn't done. If the HOA does not comply, Mr. Quinn is authorized to remove it himself and bill them for the cost. I couldn't help but smile. It felt good, but I wasn't done yet. I wanted them to keep going. Every day they worked, every dollar they invested in that shed, I was going to get more out of them. And that's exactly what happened. The HOA ignored the court order. They finished the shed, stocked it with equipment, and even put a heavy-duty lock on the door. It was as if they thought they could just keep ignoring the law and do whatever they wanted. By the time the contempt hearing came, I had all the evidence I needed. The judge was furious. "This is one of the most clear-cut cases of contempt I've seen," she said. "The HOA is fined $10,000 for contempt of court." And then came the kicker. Mr. Quinn is awarded his legal fees and is given the option to either wait for the HOA to remove the structure or take possession of it himself. Without hesitation, I stood up. "I'll take possession of the structure and all its contents," I said. The judge smiled. "So ordered." The shed, all the equipment inside it, everything was now legally mine. Patricia's attempt to take my land and my property had backfired spectacularly. When I walked out of the courthouse that day, I couldn't believe it. I had won. I now own a shed worth about $35,000, and the HOA still had to pay a $10,000 fine on top of my legal fees. But the saga didn't end there. It turned out Patricia couldn't let go. She came back, stole equipment from the shed, and got herself arrested for theft and trespassing. The irony wasn't lost on me. She went from being the president of the HOA to facing criminal charges, all because she couldn't accept the word no. In the end, Patricia lost everything. Her position, her reputation, her house, and nearly $50,000 in fines and restitution. All because she refused to respect boundaries, both literal and figurative. And as for me, I kept the shed. Best shed I never planned on owning. It's still there, standing as a monument to one woman's inability to accept she was wrong, and the sweet satisfaction of justice being served. The moral of the story? Don't mess with someone who knows their property rights. And never underestimate the power of persistence. Because sometimes the best way to win is to stand your ground, no matter how expensive or exhausting it might be. So what do you think? Is standing up for your rights worth the fight, even when it seems impossible? Let me know in the comments.